Good morning. I'm Divya Brol Gambhir. I'm a partner in banking in Al Tamimi, and I head the financial regulatory practice. And today we've got Samir Sachu with us, who's a Senior Vice President, Public Policy and Expansion at Bitoasis, which is a very important client of ours. Samir, thank you so much for coming.
Morning, Divya. How are you?
All well, all well. So Samir, you're the first to gain the operational MVP license from the Dubai Virtual Assets and Regulatory Authority in Dubai.
Yes.
What does this milestone enable you to do in terms of business?
Yeah, so great question, Divya. So just by way of background, Bitoasis, as you know, was formed in Dubai and is headquartered in Dubai in 2016. So this is our home. We serve the region, the GCC, the wider MENA region from our home in Dubai. And over the last couple of weeks, as you know, you've advised us on this, we were the first trading platform to receive an operational license from VARA, which allows us to onboard customers across the region, qualified retail investors. I think for the business, it's a tremendous vote of confidence, right, in terms of everything that the foundations that the team has put in place over the last few years to ensure that we're operating on a regulated basis or self-regulated basis. And this is a validation of that. I think it's a vote of confidence from a regulator that you are operating in a way that is here for the long term, etc. I think what it means for us, in addition to that vote of confidence, we're a regulated business, and that builds trust, right? It builds trust for customers, it builds trust for potential partners in the ecosystem, financial institutions, etc. And I think it also builds trust in terms of our engaging regulators across the region, which we look to do. So it's an important milestone for us. I also think it's an important milestone for Dubai and for the UAE and for VARA, right? VARA was formed a year ago, is the world's only dedicated virtual asset regulator. And there's something quite special from the way we see things to be a Dubai-based platform that is the first trading platform to be licensed by our home regulator. And I think what it also does is it sends out very positive signals on the ecosystem, that the ecosystem is going to be driven by a combination of regional champions and global players. So we think it's very important for us as a milestone in our history and journey, but also important when you look at what's happening in Dubai and the UAE and the emerging sort of virtual asset ecosystem that we're seeing develop.
So the one question, is I think maybe if you can probably detail a little bit in terms of, what is the license you have?
Yes.
And, what kind of, within this broad virtual asset space, what are the various businesses that you can target, or what are the various activities that you can conduct? If you could just sort of break that down.
Yeah, great question. So we've been awarded an MVP operational license as a broker-dealer. So we operate a virtual asset brokerage, a spot brokerage, which enables people to buy, sell, and hold 60 virtual assets, and also to custodize those virtual assets with us. Now, the way the VARA framework is established, it's a robust and phased approach to licensing. So the MVP operational license allows us to onboard onto that platform qualified retail investors. So those are investors that typically hold cash assets of 500,000 dirhams or equivalent or above. Now, we will onboard those qualified retail investors onto this licensed platform, whilst continuing to provide other services to regular retail investors under other approvals we have from VARA. And as you know, the VARA sort of roadmap is for a final FMP license to be issued in Q2 or Q3 of this year, which allows us to consolidate provision of all services to retail investors under the single license.
Right. So, I mean, the journey for Bitoasis has been very interesting. We've been monitoring this homegrown brand for very many years now. But in terms of what do you see in terms of this milestone for you, what do you see in terms of not just in Dubai but broadly in the UAE and in terms of the regional landscape?
Yeah.
What do you see this, what does this really mean?
Yeah, so a few observations on that in terms of, in the UAE, what you're seeing, as you know, is there are various regulators that have taken active steps to regulate, enable the sector, right? Be that VARA, ADGM, ESCA, DIFC. And we see that as a very positive development because it's providing clarity to VASPs in terms of how they can operate. I think when you look across the region, you're seeing, developments in Bahrain, amendments to the framework there. Oman and Morocco have announced that they intend to regulate these activities. So we're seeing a general sort of progression towards enabling virtual asset activity or regulating virtual asset activity across the region. I think it remains to be seen what will happen in big markets such as Egypt, which are very different, right? They're characterized by devaluation, etc. So there may be different trends within the region. I think when Bitoasis, what we think about really and our aspirations are to be a regional player that is tailor-made for our customers across the region and engaging with regulators and getting licensed wherever we can and providing products on a license basis across various platforms, be that Dubai, UAE, Bahrain and North Africa over the next sort of 12 to 18 months.
Do you see, obviously you have, you set a precedence because I'm not really aware of anybody else who can, first of all, who's got the operational license, but who has the capability or even the approval to be able to onboard not just institutional investors, but also, as you rightly mentioned, qualified retail investors. So you've got a broad, broad remit. And what do you think, as obviously, as time goes on and with suitable regulatory oversight, do you see regulators or in other jurisdictions also sort of taking some steps, following suit? How do you see, and where do you see this, if I was to say over the next year or two? Right now it's pretty much a fragmented approach, but where do you really see in terms of the region, what kind of growth, and do you see more authorities similar to VARA really coming up?
Yeah, so we definitely see progress across the region. As I mentioned, there are initiatives, there's the existing Bahraini framework, there are initiatives in other markets such as Oman, Morocco. We'll see what happens across the GCC. The big question is to what extent, will Saudi authorities look to regulate this activity? Saudi
is one of the biggest markets, one of the fastest growing economies. But my question is more in the context of, Dubai has obviously, this has been a milestone in my view because, you've always had one financial services or, financial services regulator. And UAE or Dubai really has understood the rationale that this is a separately, it's such a broad activity that they've set up a dedicated authority only limited to have regulatory oversight over virtual assets, and also because the associated risks. So do you see in terms of other jurisdictions or other markets as well, it's the financial regulator that will take charge, or do you see similar authorities being set up?
So I think what we've seen in Dubai over the last 12 months is fairly unique, right? Yeah. My assumption would be that this type of activity, the tendency will be for a combination of capital markets authorities and or central banks in our region, to the extent that there is going to be regulation looking to take ownership over that regulation, right? I think setting up an independent regulatory framework in some of the markets that we operate in, that you're present in, is not a simple task. And I think the tendency will be, let's go to what we have already, and that could be a combination of central banks and capital
I look at it because you see the way, if I look at UAE, it's so unique, is because, you've got a separation of regulators, where you've got a separate securities regulators and you've got, the banking services regulator. And if you were to look at virtual assets generally, again, it doesn't fall within, just squarely within, when you look at stable coins and all, squarely within banking. Sure. Or if you've got certain type of token offerings, falling squarely with the security services regulator. So in my mind, having, an authority with and having people with expertise to be able to, have oversight over a broad range of these activities under one umbrella, I think that's a bold move, and I'm fairly sure it's going to be a successful move. See, I think it's still early days, but what has been the reaction, to your business? What's been the market reaction?
Yeah, so I think, the market reaction has been overwhelmingly positive. I think, we're in the business of trying to demonstrate and operate as a trusted platform, and licenses fundamentally deliver some trust into the market, right? Be that customers, be that other stakeholders and partners in the ecosystem, and even other regulators who have approached us since the announcement of our news. So we're very excited about what it does for us and for the ecosystem, and for our business over the next 6 to 12 months. Obviously, Bitoasis was registered as a crypto exchange or platform with the FIU 2 years ago. So we've always had this compliance first, regulatory first approach. But obviously the license is a significant milestone that delivers trust across our ecosystem.
Yeah, a license in my mind is, a license actually, or any kind of regulatory permission, approval, license adds a lot of value to any kind of business.
Yes.
Because, as you rightly pointed out, it's about, trust, and not just trust from clients. But the fact is, it gives you, in terms of how you should really be operating your business, and having that oversight from a regulator actually is good to ensure that, systems are always, they're well running from an EML, from a compliance, perspective, and also from a consumer protection perspective, in terms of having, the fact that you're regulated. I'm sure in terms of even just your business partners.
Sure.
I do believe, it'll add a lot of, value in terms of being able to, let's say, simple things and practical things like bank accounts and all these kind of, operational and practical matters to consider. So, I have one last question in terms of what's next for Bitoasis.
Yeah, Bitoasis is a leading regional platform. Our ambition is to continue to carve out this space as a regional champion, right? We've seen it in tech in the region previously. There is space for focused platforms, not just on virtual assets. I think we saw it with Kareem, to carve out this space where they can compete as a result of attention to the customer, developing products for the customer in our region. So that's the objective, and that will continue to be the objective. I think the way we do it is, to try and deliver relevant products for our region that are always regulated or have a roadmap towards regulation. So we talked a little bit earlier about offering products through licensed platforms, be that in Dubai, Bahrain, and other markets as they come online, that serve the Arab world. That'll continue. We continue to have conviction in the virtual asset space, what it can do in terms of enabling investment options for retail investors across the region.
So hopefully, we will be seeing Bitoasis in a lot more jurisdiction over the coming years?
Over the coming years, and later on this year, we hope to launch our platform in Bahrain, which you're also supporting us on. So that is the intention. Yeah.
Well, Samir, thank you so much, and it's
Thank you,
always a
Divya.
pleasure chatting with you.
Likewise.